All right, so this will just be a short video. I feel like I've been led to do this, even though several brothers have made this before. But this is just going to be on the thief on the cross because people like to use him as an example, be like, oh, we don't need works. We can just be saved by faith alone because the thief on the cross, he didn't have any of that. He just believed. So we're going to examine this and see that that's not the case. So in Luke 23, verses 39 to 43, we're going to read. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost thou not fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Yeshua, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Yeshua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise. So he rebuked the other malefactor. And if you don't know what that is, that's actually fulfilling the royal law to love your neighbor as yourself. You can see this in James chapter 2. So James 2, verse 8 and 9. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, that's important, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. But if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. So what is loving your neighbor as yourself according to the scriptures? Let's go check. Leviticus 19. I'll start in verse 15. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. You shall not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor. You shall not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shall you stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am the Lord. Now, this is the key point here. Verse 17. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall in any wise rebuke your neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. You shall not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. So he fulfilled this commandment right here in the law to love your neighbor as yourself. And that means to rebuke people who sin. And that's exactly what he did to the other thief on the cross. He rebuked him because he was mocking Christ. And, yeah, he was supposed to do that because he was sinning. He was speaking against the Son of God. So he rebuked him as you're supposed to do according to the scriptures. And because he did that, his works, rebuking, proved his faith. Because if he didn't have faith, then he wouldn't have done that and he wouldn't have actually, rebuked the other malefactor. So that's how, he justified his faith, just as it says in James chapter 2. So going back to that chapter, I'm sure everyone's familiar with this, especially if you're part of the faith alone, once saved, always saved crowd. But verse 14, what doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and hath not works? Can faith save him? So it's specifically about saving him. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, Depart in peace, be you warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye have given them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. And that's exactly what it would have been in the case of the thief if he didn't use that opportunity he had to justify his faith. If he failed on that opportunity and he didn't rebuke the other thief, he probably wouldn't have been saved because that wouldn't have proved his belief. His belief would have been in vain if he didn't fulfill the royal law there. And it's exactly the same with Abraham. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works, when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect? And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. So his works is his belief. That is what's the word? That's the requirement for faith. You need works. That is evidence that you have faith in the first place. You see then how that by works a man is justified and not by faith only. So it's the same way for every single person. Even the thief on the cross, it's not an exception. His faith was proved by his works, and really it's just an excuse that people use to justify their disobedience. So don't be someone who says that we are saved by faith alone because the thief on the cross didn't have any works, because he did. He fulfilled the royal law, And that's honestly one of the most important things that the church does not even know about. The royal law to love your neighbors yourself is to rebuke people who sin. It's supposed to be something that keeps each other in check, but the church does not do that. And because of that, they're not listening to the Messiah, and that's part of why they're going to be destroyed, because they make up justifications for their disobedience. And, well, that's very bad news, unfortunately. So don't use the thief on the cross as an excuse to, uh, not do works. You have to obey the Ten Commandments to be saved. That is evidence of your faith.